Welcome to the Circuit of Success Podcast.
The Circuit of Success Podcast.
With your host,
Brett
Gilliland.
Brett Gilliland, Visionary Wealth Advisory.
The Circuit of Success Podcast. Let's start the show.
All right, welcome to the Circuit of Success. I am your host, Brett Gilliland, and today I've got Amy Charlesworth with me. Amy, how you doing?
I'm so good. Thank you for having me.
Awesome. Thanks for being here. What part of the country are you calling in from today?
I'm based in Los Angeles. It's pretty sunny here. I can't beat it.
Well, it's been basically raining for the last 24 hours here. I'm looking at nothing but rain and dark clouds. So the opposite view of what you've got.
You guys have some good hot dogs and baseball where you're from, though.
You're right. We do have that. Our Cardinals are playing a little better now, so that's good. But, well, Amy, thanks for being with us. As I said, you are a military veteran. You are the head of HR for Tom Bilyeu's Impact Theory. You are the podcast host of Amy Is, which we will talk about that as well. So it's a lot of stuff you've got cooking. You've had a great career and excited to dive into that today. But like I do with every show, if you could, just give us a little lay of the land of what's made you the woman you are today.
Sure. Well, thank you for that intro. So I was 17 when I joined the military. It's going to go down a rabbit hole here a little bit, but I was born in England and my mother moved to America and I got my citizenship through the military and joined the U.S. Army and was an Army veteran for 16 years and got out about 2 years ago now, pretty recently. So that being the bulk of my life was definitely the foundation for who I am today to answer your question. It definitely instilled a lot of values in me that I wouldn't have otherwise had.
Yeah, absolutely. So what brought you guys to America?
My mom met an American Mormon missionary from Grants Pass, Oregon. I was born and raised in Nottingham, England. My mother's from Sheffield. My father's from Nottingham. So truly British, even though the accent will throw you off. My last name's Charlesworth, if that doesn't, give me any indication of my heritage. But she met an American guy and, the rest is history. Moved to the U.S.
That's amazing. You definitely don't have an accent. I thought that stayed with you forever.
I know. We moved here permanently. I mean, I was 16-ish when I permanently came, but I'd been back and forth since I was about 5 or 6 years old. So I got the American accent.
There you go. I'm sure you can make the European accent if you want to, can't you?
Yeah, you give me a little cup of wine or something,
Starts coming out.
Back in my collar. Yeah.
I love it. So I want to start off. I don't normally do this, but I was curious today because you've done a lot of different things in your career, and I think that's great. And so I've thought of 3 things: is leadership, success, and being mentally strong or mentally tough. Right. So I want to start with those 3 and have you define those to kind of lay the groundwork for our episode today. So when you hear the word leadership, how do you define that?
I always love this phrase, leaders eat last. And it's so important when you're a leader to make sure whatever you're in leadership of, whoever you're in leadership of, that comes first. Another way to say that is mission first. And, your mission can get completed without your people. So to me, it's making sure that no matter what it is, whether it's literally the chow hall, coming from the military, that every single one of your soldiers that you're in charge of is going through the chow hall line before you do. You literally eat last. And make sure that your team's taken care of. So that to me is just the foundation of absolutely everything when it comes to leadership, that if you don't take care of your people, if you don't take care of your project and your mission, what are you doing? You have no purpose. So you have to put your people first.
Love that. How about success? How do you define it?
Because I view life as a never ending state of being in terms of like what you're working on, your relationships, your education, your pursuit of excellence. It's never over. It's constantly evolving. So you have to find success along the journey. So success to me is just being able to be and be present fully in the moment, enjoy the moments when they come up that you enjoy, feel the emotions that you're feeling, even if that's sitting in failure for a minute, fully absorbing that failure so you can process it and learn from it and evolve from it. So success to me is a constant state, being in the moment, being present, and just being fully in whatever you're experiencing.
And then the last one was mentally tough or mentally strong. And I'm going to preface this with my next question is going to be around vulnerability and transparency. And so I think that's also mentally strong, right, to be able to do that. But before we go on to that side of things, mentally tough, what does that mean to you and how do you define that?
I'm going to be a little bit of a contrarian because I often get prescribed to me from a lot of other people. You're from the military, you should be able to handle this better, or whatever the case is. And I don't view mentally tough as a lot of other military veterans may view it. For me, being mentally tough is being able to acknowledge and sit in even those moments when you're not. When you're, by textbook definition, you're not mentally strong. So let me give you an example to articulate my point here a little bit more clearly. Being mentally tough is like if you're having a moment of just complete and utter down where you just don't feel good, that's okay. But what makes you mentally tough is experiencing that moment, experiencing that down feeling and, that low place that you're in, but not allowing yourself to sit there for too long. I think emotions are important. They tell us something, they give us direction, they put us on the right path that we need to go on. So we need to acknowledge those emotions. But what makes us mentally tough and mentally strong is when we know, okay, time's up. I felt the feeling. I've received the information. I understand what I needed to get out of this moment. Now I'm going to move. Now I'm going to get up. I'm going to go move around. I'm going to move on to the next thing and continue down that path that I need to go down. So for me, it's just, again, acknowledging where you're at, absorbing it, but then not allowing yourself to sit there.
Yeah. I think the sitting there, right? That's the toughest part, is that action. That's one of the circuits of the circuit of success, is taking action. Because so many times people can sit in that hole, have the pity party, like I always talk about on here, and don't do anything, right? So how do you personally take action, and how you pull yourself up out of a hole?
So I'm very, my show is specifically designed around this exact topic, this moment, from the transition from military veterans leaving the military and going into civilian life. That almost always, without exception, comes with a huge mental shift where they're struggling. They're like, crap, what am I doing next?
Yeah.
And they're almost frozen in that state. Every single veteran I've ever talked to goes through this. And I personally recently went through a mental health situation where you're frozen on the couch, you're maybe locked in the scroll of Instagram, you just have no energy, no motivation to do anything. And the thing that has been successful when I get in those moments to break me out of them is, again, just repeating what I just said, like, acknowledge that you're there. Don't beat yourself up for being in that negative down place. Like, clearly I'm on the couch. I don't feel like I can get up. Give yourself a time limit, right? Okay. Even if it's a couple hours, like it's 3 p.m. At 5 p.m., I'm going to give myself 2 hours. At 5 p.m., I'm going to get up. I'm going to go take a 20-minute walk outside. And that's really hard. And that's where that mental toughness comes from. Like, you've got to be able to get yourself up off the couch and take a walk. Just go outside, get some fresh air, change your environment. I just did this episode yesterday where somebody said something so eloquently where it's like, just change the pattern, break the cycle. Sitting on that couch for 2 hours is not going to serve you. It's not going to help you better. It's not going to do anything for your mental health. You got to get off the couch. So, just break the pattern. I think that's the most important factor to help get you out of that state.
Yeah. And I think too, what I love about that is, think about it. It's tough, but also simple, right? You're not saying, oh, you got to go do A, B, and C and make these calls and do, all this business type stuff to get out of that hole. It's literally take a simple walk, right? Yeah. How easy, right? Tough, but again, very easy.
Some of the toughest service members I've ever heard of, like the really macho guys, the SEAL Team 6, right? Like the really macho guys from the military. I've watched and listened to so many episodes and stories about those particular type of men where, you would think that they're the epitome of what an alpha male is. Surely they know how to deal with stressful situations. Surely they know how to deal with trauma, right? Even those people say the number one piece of success for them to overcome these deep depression states that they go through is to move, is to go outside and take a 20-minute refreshing walk. And just that alone, getting more oxygen, getting your limbs moving, your blood circulating, that it's not going to fix your problems. It's not going to make you financially rich. It's not going to, get you a job or get your wife back or anything like that. But what it will do is help reset your state of mind so you can think more clearly. Ideas will come to you. Solutions will come to you, right? You'll be able to start moving down that path of solution just by resetting the mental state that you're in.
Yeah. it's funny. I had an Olympic gold medalist on once, and I asked her, I said, hey, what's the biggest thing you do to go out there and get mentally prepared, for your day? And I'm thinking exercise. I'm thinking this magic, right, science that she's got. And she goes, I write down what I'm grateful for, and I spend 5 minutes breathing. And I'm like that's all it takes, right, to go to win a gold medal? Obviously, there's a lot that goes into it. But that was her answer, though. And I'm always just kind of like taken aback by that, was that simple thing. Write down what I'm grateful for, 5 minutes of breathing. So when you hear that, what comes to mind for you?
Oh my gosh. We're in a society that constantly tells us, we're surrounded by content all the time. You have to work super hard for stuff. You have to get up at 5 a.m. and you have to go to bed at midnight and you have to work your booty off to achieve anything, right? So we're surrounded by people telling us that there's a formula in order to be successful. And if you're not working hard, you're not breaking a sweat, you're not over efforting, that you're not going to go anywhere. And that's not true. I'm going to be the contrarian there as well. I don't know if you listen to any books or tapes or podcasts by anybody like Esther Hicks or Joe Dispenza or Eckhart Tolle, but there's some of the greatest minds out there on this particular topic of getting your mental being in a state of thriving. And every single one of those people will tell you, you don't have to effort. You don't have to overexert yourself or work yourself to a bone. It is the best place just to start with breath, just to start with clearing your mind. Spend 15 minutes in the morning, maybe when you first get up, before you get moving, get the momentum going in a positive direction, clear your mind of negative, set your intention for the day, and then start going after the things that you need to go after. But you don't have to effort.
No, you don't. And I totally connect with that too, because I was the guy in my, 20s and in my 30s. I'm 46 now, that I was like, oh, I got to do this and I got to do that. And then, you read a 5 o'clock in the morning book and it's like, I'll do that for a week. And then I feel like crap and I'm pissed off and I'm up at 5 o'clock. And then I feel like I'm a failure because I'm not doing it. And supposedly all these successful people are doing it. And like, you can beat yourself up over it, right? I mean, there's so many people that are guilty of that, but I think you got to find out, how do you work, right? What makes Amy work? What makes Brett work? And then be okay with that, but then show up every single day and do what works for you.
Yeah. The concept of eating the whole elephant at once, how do you do that? You can't, right?
At a time, yeah.
We have to do it one bite at a time, so you can't eat a whole pie, one slice at a time. So, especially with people who are neurodivergent or in that depressed state, not doing well, a lot of us get overwhelmed by the fact that we think in order for me to be successful, that looks like getting up, going to the gym, having a healthy relationship with my spouse or my coworkers, like all this stuff, right? You can make a fat list of what makes someone successful. And they think they have to have that all at once. Even if you just start with, well, today I got out of bed. That's a win. You should celebrate that win, right? Maybe tomorrow you got out of bed and you went to the gym. And you don't have to go do a full workout. Just hop on the treadmill and walk for 10 minutes. That's a win, right? So, set your goal, set your intention, yes, but bite sizes. Just start with one corner of the room when you're going to clean the house. You don't have to clean the whole house at once. So, celebrate those wins one step at a time, one bite at a time, and prioritize. You don't have to do it all at once.
Yeah. How long did it take you to realize that and actually believe that and embrace it?
I got to tell you, I've been working for Tom and Lisa Bilyeu for just over a year now. And if you're not familiar, for your listeners, they are really heavily, they have a ton of content in the mindset and wellness space. And I didn't really know of them prior to working with them very well. But I've been surrounded now for the last year, just about with this incredible content. They've got a course called Impact Theory University. And I went through it as a staff member. And I just realized I was missing out on all of these foundational building blocks of tips that you don't have to pay for. These aren't like, you don't have to go to college for these things. You don't have to go pay a therapist for them. These are just like helpful things that you can pick up. And these are concepts and ideas that are so simple. Even just what we've talked about a moment ago, just taking a breath, like clearing your mind for a minute, getting out of bed, organizing your day. Those aren't inherent skills. We assume that people know how to go about their day in a productive manner. And that's not stuff that you get taught in high school. Yeah. You don't get stuff in college. And so having experts to look up to, like your show is really interesting because you have all these incredible people on. So I would say, like, if this is someone's first time hearing of any of these concepts, there's a lot more people out there, free content. Go on YouTube, go on Google, and just type in mindset. It really makes it different. When you start looking for what you're looking for, you'll find it, So
For sure.
first step is just to ask.
Well, it's the old saying that was it the student or the teacher appears when the student is ready, right? I mean, you got to want it. You got to be ready. And I read this quote a number of years ago, and it's funny. I had this conversation with myself yesterday. I think we can all get guilty. I was putting away some towels. We've got a pool, so there's always kids over, and feels like that's all we do is towels and laundry. And I went down to put them away, and I put it in the closet, and it was kind of unfolded and nasty. And I went to shut the door. I didn't feel like making it look nice. And then I'm like, but the way you do anything is the way you do everything, right? And so the way you do anything is the way you do everything. And it made me go back and actually refold the two towels and make them look nice. And I know that's just probably a stupid story or thing to share, but it's true, right? The way I did those towels is the way I'm going to show up to a client meeting or the way I'm going to show up at work. And it's like, get your shit together, right? And make that step, the littlest thing, fold a towel the right way. You'll feel different. You'll act different.
You're so right. I was just sharing a story with another military veteran yesterday. We were talking a lot about mental health. And this is so silly, but this is just one of those things where if you're not feeling good about anything, find something to feel good about. And I have a dog, and I take my dog out 3 times a day. And when I was struggling in a really low place mentally within the last 6 months, something that helped me just start to feel a little bit better is I just gave myself a goal of like something that I thought maybe would make a slight difference in the world. And every time I took my dog out, which was at least 3 times a day, I would make sure to pick up a piece of trash while I was outside. And I know that sounds to your point about the towels, like it seems simple and small and insignificant. However, just doing one small thing that you can feel good about can start that snowball effect and that momentum of just getting you to feel really good. So no joke, I still to this day, 6 months later, every time I go outside with my dog and, I'm going to pick up his business, because I'm already down there on the ground, I'm picking up a piece of trash with it, right? And I feel better about leaving the world a little bit better than I found it. And that definitely just is a mental reminder, like, doesn't matter what you're doing, to your very valid point, do it all the way, right? Do it 100%, 120%, right? Just do it a little bit better, and you're going to feel a little bit better about life in general, I swear.
It's awesome. I'm awesome. I really connect with that. So what have you learned being around Tom and Lisa? I mean, they've built obviously a hell of a business. I think I don't know their whole story, but they've sold businesses and made a ton of money. And now they're doing and giving back to the world through this podcast and impact theory and all that stuff. So what have you learned either working through them or being surrounded with the people that you guys are surrounded with because of the content they create?
There's so much. I mean, oh my gosh, this has been, almost an internship, if you will, in life and in business and being around entrepreneurs like Tom and Lisa. It's everything. It's the way you show up in a meeting. It's, are you taking notes in a meeting? To your very, point earlier, how you do anything is how you do everything. And they are the walking epitome of what success looks like. And they have a really great story about how they even got into business in the first place. Tom and Lisa are very open. They used to look for quarters in the couch to put gas in the car. They didn't have like a silver spoon. They weren't handed any sort of, success story or recipe for life. They literally came from nothing, both of them. And what really changed the dynamic for them is, Tom was a writer, and he used to come to these meetings and he would take the best notes he could take, and he would go a step beyond, what does the business actually need? And it might have nothing to do with writing. And so one day, Tom was able to basically completely become invested and embedded in the C-suite side of the business because of his proactive approach to everything he was doing. And so now I work in human resources. I touch every single one of the departments. What I've learned is how you show up. I come with my notepad. I have one of those remarkable notepads, and I'm just constantly writing notes. I'm going back to people and giving them like the action items. I'm making sure that whatever it is that we're doing, we're setting a KPI to it. We're setting a deliverable date. So it's not like, hey, we had this meeting, we're going to accomplish this task. It's how are we going to accomplish the task? How will we know that we accomplish the task? What does it look like if I'm going to over deliver on the task? And when is it going to be done by, right? Like you need to have a solid plan of action in place. You can't just have a plan. You need to have a plan of action. So I would say that's the biggest thing, because, most people show up in meetings, they have these conversations, but they don't actually take notes, and they don't assign who owns the tasks, and they don't assign when they're due. So I think having those metrics and those KPI is actually what's going to move the needle on your business.
Yeah. So how do you hold people accountable to those things? I think it's great. And I heard early on in my career that accountability without a relationship is harassment. And I always thought that was so good, right? So we have to have a relationship first, because if I try to hold you accountable, you may be like, you're just the head of HR. Of course you're going to say that, right? But how do you hold people accountable and make sure when they say, hey, I own this, they do it and they get it done in a timely manner?
So to what you already said, relationships are so important. And that starts with the day that you hire before you hire someone, right? The interview process. But then when you bring them in house, it's clearly defining and setting roles, responsibilities, and expectations. So when someone comes on board to Impact Theory, as an example, we'll write a job description. It's posted since day one, but when they come in, they reread it, they're signing for it, they know what their mission is. Then the department has KPI goals that are reflective of the company's overarching goals. So those are communicated every single Monday. We have a team meeting and everybody knows what those KPIs are. Those goals may shift. The metrics may shift over time, right? Depending on the needs of the business, what's going on. And so we make sure everybody's aligned every single Monday. So as the relationship is built between the manager and the employee, it's reinforced by the broader company getting the communication sent down, cascaded across everybody. We don't have like a hierarchical structure. We're all flat. And so everybody knows that everybody here, your position's not guaranteed, right? We're not a family. We're an all-star team. And in order for us to accomplish and win, the Super Bowl, we're going to have to meet these goals. We're going to have to meet these needs. So it's clearly communicated, step one. Step two, we're fostering that relationship continually, right? How you show up at work. We make sure we recognize the human side of, our personnel and our team. But then three, in terms of accountability, those check-ins every single Monday, it's not a secret. We have a very transparent engagement with all of our employees. I'm not sure if you or your listeners are familiar with Ray Dalio, but we operate on principles. So principles is used throughout our entire inner workings of everything we do. Everything's very transparent. We have a DOT system where we're giving feedback to one another continually. That might be, hey, you did such a great job on this project. You hit this metric ahead of time. Thank you. Or it might be, you're 3 days late. You know what happens when you develop a pattern of being late, it affects the whole thing. So it's just not a secret. So communication, transparency, relationship, that's an ongoing, ever evolving thing that happens all the time. It's not, we're going to wait till your review. We're going to wait till the mid-year, right? It's every single week. We're constantly in the moment, real-time feedback. And so it's never a surprise. It's never a secret if someone is slipping. It's never a surprise if they're in trouble or, they're maybe being exited from the business, right? They're very up to date and very in the know with how someone's feeling based on those principles with Ray Dalio's book.
Well, it makes me think again, what I was kind of mentioning earlier is boringly consistent, right? I mean, that's amazing. That's a perfect definition of that. I show up and I'm consistent every Monday, right? Everybody knows it. So like you said, it's not like this thing coming out of left field and it's like, oh, you're going to ask me if I get this thing done? We're going to ask you every Monday, right? Now you got to deliver. And if you don't deliver time and time again, probably not a great fit. Fair?
I think that's super fair. I think what's not fair is what is traditionally found in most business settings where behind the scenes, leadership are having a meeting, they're in alignment with what the KPIs are, but the information is not cascaded down, and being downhill is already a negative thing, right? They feel like they're not owners of the actual goal or the metrics. They're not involved with the decision making. Whereas when you, the contrast of that is to open up things, right? Have open meetings where everybody's involved in the meeting. It doesn't matter if you're the person hired to wash the dishes. You should be aware of what the company goals are. And then you should be informed of how the company is doing against those goals. And you should be informed of how each individual person is performing against those. It just needs to be transparent because then everyone's on the same page. But those behind the door closed meetings, your staff aren't involved, and then maybe they're getting a fraction of the information, et cetera. That's not making sure everyone's on the team, right? When you go in a locker room during the halftime of a Super Bowl game, the coach is in the center and every single player on the team is around that coach. They're getting the same feedback. They're getting the same motivation. They're getting the same, kick in the pants if they're not performing well, right? Everybody's seeing who's in trouble and who needs to pick up. And then you have other guys helping that guy out, right? If they know that person's the weak link, they're coming over to help him out. It just needs to be transparent. There should be no surprises. Like, I just recently, had to have tough conversation with an employee and they were like, yeah, I was expecting this. I was expecting this. That's how it should be. You shouldn't be surprising your people at all. You got to be all on the same page.
How do you create a vision, you and your team, or even yourself? How do you create a vision that inspires those around you?
You got to get buy-in, and I would say you got to co-create. So that looks like being clear that this is a unified thing where all voices are welcome at the table that are on your team. If you're hiring people, you're hiring minds, right? You're hiring, even in your interview process, you want to make sure you're adding to your team people who are going to help you get to that end goal, which means you need to trust them to add to the vision. And so if you have a better idea or your staff member has a better idea, you guys are talking about that and you're co-creating what the end goal looks like. All great leaders are looking to hear from every single voice in the room. And if not everybody's in the room, they're going out to make sure, hey, you weren't in the room when we had this conversation. What do you think about this, right? Because it might just be the person that was hired to wash the dishes and clean the floors that has the greatest idea to bring to the table. So source everybody's ideas. And then once you do that, you're creating buy-in. And now you've got that person equally committed to seeing this project through to completion or this idea through to completion because it came from them too. They're co-creating it. So I think when you do that, you're, instilling trust, you're creating a foundation of trust with your team. And then you're also now set up with an army of people who want to help you reach that vision and that end goal. So great minds, require a lot of people's input and, that's what they're looking for. If you're trying to do it by yourself, you're already shooting yourself in the foot.
Yeah. Well, then it's just, of course, then it comes from that, you're the owner or you're this, you're that. You're not getting their buy-in. You're missing the boat. You're missing the boat. So let's turn the page to, if I followed Amy around, say I had a camera with me and I get to follow you around for 3 or 4 days, like what are the things that I would see day in, day out, no fail, no miss? What is it?
So in the morning, this is a new practice for me. I've only been doing it for about 3 months, but it's really powerfully effective for me or anybody who's having any kind of mental health issues. This helped me a ton, and I hope it helps someone else. But first thing in the morning, right when I get out of bed, before I touch my cell phone, which is super important, I go over to my little meditation station. And I set up this chair, comfy pillows. There's no distractions around me technology wise. And I've got just like a short stack of books. So one's a journal and I just write down a couple things that, I care about, what I'm thankful for. I fill myself with gratitude and appreciation. And then I have another book that's called The Book of Awakening. And it's like it's just like a little paragraph once a day. And it's got like a calendar in it. So like July 8th, July 9th, there's just like a little, daily affirmation, positive infusion into your day. So I read that. And then I have a kind of a calendar of things that I need to get done. And I just reevaluate, like, what am I focused on today? So I go through that. The whole exercise takes me 15 minutes maybe. Yeah. And I spend the next 15 minutes, I'm giving myself 30 minutes in the morning. The next 15 minutes, I'm just clearing my mind. And I'm not just trying to clear my mind to get rid of thought. I'm breathing, but I'm also working on how I feel. And this is a new practice, new exercise. And it's kind of like when you go to the gym and you're working out a muscle. It's mind to muscle connection of what does the feeling of joy look like? What does the feeling of love feel like? What does the feeling of success or completing a project or winning a marathon feel like, right? I'm just trying to feel those feelings. I go through that exercise for 15 minutes and then I start my day. And then, I'm going to the office. I'm head of HR, so I do a lot of personnel work, payroll, benefits, people management, performance management, all of that. And then every single evening I work heavily on my show. So I'm either going to the studio, researching guests, reading and preparing if I'm interviewing an author. And of course, I've got my son and my dog. So we spend a lot of time together as well in the evenings. But that's my day.
That's awesome. I love it. What's the exercise routine for you?
So I'm a big runner. I really love to run. Usually will do about 3 to 10 miles a week, just depending on my energy levels. I like to, I'm in Los Angeles, beautiful area. So a lot of Runyon Canyon. If there are any locals that know what that is, it's a really gorgeous area up by Hollywood. A great view of all of Los Angeles when you get up to the top. So really nice area there. But I love Pilates as well. So I'm in the gym probably about 5 days a week.
Okay. And that's something you always loved, or is that something you have to talk yourself into every day?
There definitely are weeks when I have to, like the whole week, I'm just not feeling it this week. But as people will often tell you that are in the fitness industry or, love to work out, you will never regret a workout. Like you might have a hard time going. You might kick yourself, to get out of bed and you don't like it. You're struggling to get there. But when you show up, even if it's just, as I said earlier, just hop on the treadmill and get your body moving, and you don't have to run. Just walk on the treadmill at a slight incline for 10 minutes. You will not regret it. You will leave that like, man, I'm so glad I did that. I actually feel better. Just body movement in general, it is so good for the soul.
Yeah. Yeah. I found myself saying at one point I need a lot of help, was like, just do 10 push-ups. Just do 10 push-ups. And then what I found was I would end up doing more, right? You're there, get your 10 push-ups in, but something is better than nothing. So what would you tell yourself when you look at, I know you went through some stuff with the military and now your podcast, Amy Is. I want you to talk about why it's Amy Is, and then it's kind of a blank space there. But like what would you tell yourself now, knowing what you know, along the journey of what you've been going through?
Yeah, so I joined with the military when I was 17, and as is probably evident by how old I was a very impressionable teenage girl who had no idea what she was getting herself into. And that transpired in so many different ways. My career in the military was a great career. I'm actually super proud of my military career. I accomplished a lot of things that no one would ever expect a young girl to achieve. I was air assault rappel master. I was the first female in the history of the Oregon Army National Guard to become a rappel master, 12th in the history of the Army. So like really tough schools. I served over in Afghanistan. I did a lot of like very male dominated, very masculine things. And that helped me. It was empowering, but it also hurt me in a lot of ways too. So I've been through a lot with the military. And the military, unfortunately, because of the extreme contrast in people's views and opinions around women in male-dominated industries, I got a lot of like, women shouldn't be in the military, just with an attempt to devalue or minimize my time in. Women should be in the kitchen. Women can't go to this school. Women shouldn't be in these combat arms fields, right? There's a lot of varying opinions on that, which I understand, but I wanted to be, right? Like I wanted to be in those fields. They opened it up in 2016 to women, and I went down that path. And that came with a lot of negativity. I'm constantly being told I couldn't do it. I didn't belong, right? So there's a lot of mental things that I went through. And I got tired of people telling the story for me of Amy shouldn't be able to do this. Amy can't do this. Or unfortunately, even accusations being made about my womanhood, like, Amy is a hoe, right? Like Amy's sleazy. Like they would just make these statements about me because I was a girl in a male dominated space. And so I started to allow that in my ship, and it started to sink my ship. And, I got very negative, very low, very hateful and angry. I have some anger issues that I've been struggling with because of just constantly feeling negative and thinking those negative thoughts and allowing what was being told about me and to me to sink in. And so I got the idea from some really good friends of mine to just change the story, change the narrative, and to start telling my own story. And being in and working for the YouTube and podcast industry, it's such an amazing, powerful community of support. And so I thought, what better name to call my show than the Amy Is Show? And I get to now change that narrative of what I am and who I am and what I've accomplished. And I'm doing that by telling other people's stories. So I have a lot of different types of guests on the show. a lot of military veterans. And, I'm definitely always asking them like what their story is and who are they? And, how can we help other military veterans tell their stories too? So we also have experts on in the coaching space, wellness, the mindset, fitness. I've got Mike O'Hearn coming on the show soon to talk about fitness. So there's, a lot of different people with different backgrounds, but all with the spirit of helping military veterans to write their own stories.
Love that. And who is Amy? So Amy is what? What is Amy?
Yeah, so I have some sticky notes that I've put around my house. And the things that are resonating for me lately is I'm an amazing mother. I'm an amazing friend. I'm talented. I'm smart, and I'm beautiful. So those are the things that I've been telling myself a lot within the last couple of weeks.
I love that. That's so strong. So strong. So let's say I steal your cell phone from you. What is the app or the thing besides like your calendar and, your stuff like that you have to have for work? But is there anything on your phone that you hope I don't delete? And if so, why? That's
so funny. I need to do this exercise myself because I think I need to trim some of my cell phone time down significantly from my day. It's such a powerful tool. But I really think I'm gonna give you two answers. I think you should delete my Instagram immediately. I need to get off.
Get off.
Get off social media. That should be the first thing you delete.
Okay.
And the thing that you should keep. I have a great answer for this. I just thought of. For anybody struggling with mental health, there's an app called I Am, and it's a widget that you can install on your phone, and it shows up in a couple of places. One, it will be on your lock screen. So every time you pick up your phone, it's a different affirmation. So I'll tell you what it says right now. Right now it says, I know my worth and what type of love I deserve. And if I looked at it in 10 minutes, it would be a different one. And that's on the lock screen. Then when you open your phone, I actually deleted all of my news apps, so I don't get the drama of the world anymore. I just shut that out. And instead of the news apps, where the news apps lived, it's now just positive affirmations. And when I tell you, it has changed my life. It has changed my life. I now could not live without the sticky notes around my house and my phone and all of the positive messages I'm getting, because I'm telling you, what you think, you'll get. So if you're thinking negative thoughts, you're going to get a negative life. If you're thinking positive life, that's just fact. And so that's what I would hope you would keep is my I Am app.
Well, I know what I'm doing when we're done recording. I'm going to go download the I Am app and figure out a way to delete all my news stuff so I don't get that crap. I at least got it to where it goes to one thing. I don't know what it's called, but it goes to one section and I have to go look for it. But it still sometimes if you're looking at your phone, it pops up and I hate it because it's never good news, right? So we're going to play another phone game. Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, when you're on your iPhone, you like swipe, I think it's right. And it's like it already has pre-programmed the news app, and it's always like, local teenager robbed this store. What, it's always negative.
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly. I think an affirmation of I am is a little better than the local teenager that robbed a convenience store. We're going to pick a number between 1 and 10.
Okay. Do I say it now?
Yep. Say it out loud.
6.
All right. Now between 1 and 3.
2.
Okay, number 2, this is Amy Cho. This is your Instagram, by the way. So this is the post that's on there. I don't know if you can see that.
Yeah.
But it talks about so excited to be on a panel at the upcoming Dallas event on June 24th and 25th. So you posted that. I always think, things that people post are very important. What was important about that to you, and what was it like to go to the Dallas Masterclass?
Oh my gosh. What a great one to pick. So there's so much good that came from that. So my good friend, content CEO, his name's Roger. He is a guru in the content creation space. He works with great people like Dan Fleischman and some other incredible executives in the business space and the entrepreneurial space. And he hosted I think that was his 3rd workshop in a different city, where he just invites people to come and learn about content creation and whatever it is that you do, whether in real estate, finance, whatever it is. If you have a business, how do you create content that will advertise, market, create community, and monetize what it is that you do. And that masterclass, he invited me to speak at, and we spoke about the power of podcasting, the power of YouTube, the power of creating a community within that space. And it was so exciting for me because it was my third time speaking publicly ever in front of an audience, which I was so thankful for, just to get the repetition and to learn. But I also, because of that experience, met so many people that are on the same path as me in terms of being a military veteran and struggling with mental health, and that transition from going from military to civilian life. And from that, I've had probably 5 or 6 different new opportunities that have popped up just from that experience alone. So it's very, very cool. Yeah,
I love it. Talk about that necklace you're wearing right there.
Oh my God, you're picking all the good things. I love pumping my
Well, I know
up.
who it is, and I know what you're wearing there. I know exactly what it is.
Okay, well, that was a good, well played. So this right here is a bullet necklace. I don't know if you can see it, but it's a bullet here. So Kelsey Sharon is another military veteran. She was in the Canadian Army, and another person who's very vocal about their journey dealing with mental health. She, as part of a therapeutic initiative for herself, started creating jewelry just to do like some art therapy. And she's made her own line. So it's called Brass and Unity. And she makes bullet jewelry, period. And this is one of my favorite pieces, but she also has a bullet bracelet called the Buddy Check system, and it comes in a pack of 2, so you can give one to your friend, and it's like a check-in thing where it makes you always just think about your friend, check in on them, and it's designed to stop people ending their lives, and it works. It truly works. So very, very cool company, very cool project and initiative designed to support military veterans and first responders.
She's awesome. I had her on my podcast probably 4 or 5 years ago, right when she was really getting kind of started, and then I was on her podcast, and so she's awesome. And I saw it when we started hitting record here today, so I thought that was really cool. So, last question for you: if I gave you $10 million, and you can't go blow it on fun stuff, and you can't go if there's any debt or anything like that, you got to do something with it. What impact in the world are you making?
I would immediately set up a 501c3 nonprofit with the funds, and I would put some of the money into investments that would generate additional income for the 501c3. But I would start a whole program around military mental health and plant medicine. There's a lot of incredible, powerful initiatives that are popping up all over the world: Costa Rica, Colombia, here in the United States. In fact, today, Jesse Gold from Heroic Hearts Project is on Capitol Hill in DC, doing some initiatives to help make sure that military veterans have access to therapeutic services, MDMA, et cetera, different therapeutic treatments to help military veterans that have already been proven to really move the needle on mental health for military veterans, that are way more effective than prescription Western medications that we obviously know at this point just really don't help too much.
I love that. I lied, so that was my last question. So you'll see this right here: helping you achieve a future greater than your past. That's our mission for our firm, for my personal mission in life, is helping people achieve a future greater than your past. And so when you hear that, what comes to mind for you?
Well, first of all, I love that. I love that you have that. The logo is dope. So nice. What comes to mind immediately is that my show, at the end of every episode, I ask all my guests if they have a charitable initiative that they're involved with, because I want to hyperlink it. And basically we're trying to provide access to military veterans for whatever charitable resources are out there for them, because there's just not enough information. Like if someone's struggling, it's a military veteran. And so I think everybody where I'm going with that is I think everybody has a personal responsibility to find something. It doesn't have to be military veterans. It doesn't have to be, anything to do with mental health, but just find something that you can do that's good in the world for others, that is completely selfless, has nothing to do with you. Maybe that might look like back to school drives for kids. Go volunteer at one and stuff backpacks. It might be Thanksgiving, go help out at your local food bank and feed families. Find something, because when you're doing some good in the world, one, you're going to feel great about yourself. But two, talking about creating a great future, those are the foundational blocks of building a great future, not just for yourself, but for everybody. So find some sort of charitable initiative that you can help out with.
Awesome. Amy Charlesworth, it's been awesome having you. Don't leave here. The screen will go dark here, but stay with me. But it's been awesome having you in the Circuit of Success. Thanks so much for joining me.
Thanks for having me.